Hey everybody, this is Marian Cowagowan.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today, I was made to watch Fright Night.
Yes, Fright Night. Fright Night, which is, of course, the 1985 Tom Holland directed horror comedy.
Amazing that he could direct it before he was Spider-Man. He was really young,
embryonic.
Right? Yeah,
even.
Yeah. That's what you really call a wunderkind.
Yes. No relation, I think.
No, probably not.
I don't imagine.
Probably not.
Fright Night. So this is one of the movies for me that it's kind of part of a trilogy, if you will, of movies, and we'll get into this some as we talk. But for me, this movie it's part of this trilogy that in the mid 80s sort of demystified vampires for me. Because prior to this, a vampire was Dracula. Like, you might as well just be a Dracula. Dressed in this very particular way with a cape and a widow's peak and et cetera, et cetera. Even something like Monster Squad, which is sort of contemporary to this movie, just literally has the universal monsters. So it's just a Dracula in it.
Yeah, because I feel like all the other modern vampires were after this. Like Interview with Vampire was, 92, 93, something like that. And so, yeah, you had Grandpa Munster.
Yeah,
and that
it was a Dracula.
Right.
Like that's
not a lot else.
Yeah, like I sort of unironically call those vampires Draculas.
Yeah.
Like, I know Dracula is a vampire, but so the trifecta for me is this Fright Night, Lost Boys, and Near Dark. So I really wanted to do Near Dark for this episode, but it is impossible to find. So I'm going to work on procuring like a physical copy of Near Dark.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do that sooner or later. I'd like to do the whole trilogy, though. I know you've seen Lost Boys, but I don't think you have nearly sort of the affection for it that I do. So
no, it was a very long time ago. If it makes you feel better, I'm sure I don't remember any of it.
I think it still qualifies. So the order in which they sort of go is the Fright Night takes the modern vampire myth and sort of puts it, or the classic vampire myth, and puts it in a modern setting. So the main character, the main vampire, is a vampire in a traditional sense. Like, he's got all of the traditional trappings of the vampire. Lost Boys takes vampires who sort of by their very nature were sort of suave and cool. Mm-hmm. Dracula is like a Lothario kind of guy. Like, he's like, and
in this one, he definitely is.
Well, there's no Dracula in this, Marian. He's not Dracula.
This vampire. Okay.
Yes.
Can I just, Jerry is the least vampire name.
I think that's probably like Jerry Dandridge is the name of the vampire in this movie. And I think that's almost intentional. Like, that's the stupidest, most sort of average sounding person.
Yeah.
name.
I mean, like Jerome maybe, but not Jerry. Anyway. Okay. Back to your point.
Right. Anyway. So Lost Boys took that sort of cool, suave, classic Dracula and updated it for the 80s. The vampires in Lost Boys.
Just make them scruffy. I remember Kiefer Sutherland and a lot of stubble and some piercings.
Well, right, but they're all like punks. They're like rock and roll punks, and that's kind of the idea there, that these guys are like they're it's an update of the cool vampire.
Okay.
Dracula was cool, or like, and those vampires are cool.
Okay.
And Near Dark is sort of sits at the head of the table as the one that took vampires and just threw out a lot of that crap and just said, being a vampire isn't that cool. And these vampires are dirty and they're grungy, and they are, it's not that it's a curse per se, because they're having a lot of fun being vampires, more or less, but that those vampires are dirty. They're criminals.
They don't sparkle.
They do not sparkle. No, not at all. So this movie is this is sort of the movie that starts the demystification of vampires.
Okay.
And then Lost Boys makes them cool, 80s cool. And then Near Dark says, what if actually they were just dirty, homeless people?
Oh.
Essentially, a dirty, homeless, a criminal family.
Okay.
And so that's, this one kind of is, it's got its important place in my sort of cultural awakening, if you will, on vampires. This idea that vampires don't have to be Draculas.
Okay.
that vampires can be something else, and that's kind of
Okay.
what this did.
Okay.
So Fright Night, 1985. Tom Holland, also known for Child's Play, the Chucky.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
written and directed by Tom Holland, and we've got William Ragsdale in the lead role of Charlie, who is our hero, and Charlie is just your dumb suburban kid.
Yeah.
Played to perfection by William Ragsdale, because that's what William Ragsdale is. He is, hey, do you need a dumb suburban white kid? All right, let's get him. The William Ragsdale is Zach Galligan not available? All right.
What else has he done? I'd never.
He's also in Waxworks.
Don't know what that is.
He's in several other movies, but he was just the guy you went to.
Okay,
Like,
generic boy,
generic white,
generic. Okay,
generic white teen.
Okay,
dark haired generic white teen.
That works.
He fills that role very nicely. You've also got Marcy Darcy is in this movie. What's the actress's name? You know this off the top of your head.
Amanda. I don't remember it from the credits. Bierce.
Bearse.
Yeah.
Playing Amy. We've also got Prince Humperdinck as Jerry Dandridge. Chris Sarandon.
Yeah, the original Mr. Susan Sarandon, I think. I think she kept her name after they got divorced.
Nice.
Or she kept his name. Whatever.
And we've also got Roddy McDowall.
That was. Yeah.
Roddy McDowall is one of those actors that he's in a lot of stuff, but the only thing I can ever tell you that he was in was Planet of the Apes.
I had a bit of a brain fart, and I was expecting, I think it's his brother. I was expecting Malcolm McDowell, which would have taken this in a whole other direction.
Jeez, yeah. That's a very different movie.
So Malcolm McDowell, by the way, who I recently learned was married to Mary Steenburgen.
I didn't know that.
Can you see? I can't see that at all.
No, not really.
No. Anyway, that's for another time.
Yeah. So the basic, and we've got some other characters we'll introduce along the way. But the basic plot of this movie is, what if Rear Window, but a vampire?
Yeah.
The basic idea here is that Charlie just happens to peep on his neighbor, not really intentionally. He's not got a broken leg or anything, and sees a coffin being taken inside the house. And at that point, it all starts to spiral out of control there until he realizes that he is, in fact, living next door to a vampire. And the only person he can think of to help him fight this vampire is the local fallen movie star and now local television Fright Night horror show host Peter Vincent, played by Roddy McDowall.
Is he supposed to be kind of like a poor man's Vincent Price?
I think he's supposed to be a Peter Cushing Vincent Price mashup, or like a Christopher Lee Vincent Price Peter Cushing. He's just supposed to be random English actor who played in a bunch of Hammer vampire movies.
Yeah.
Hammer was the production house or whatever that put out all these. They were like, Universal established these movie monsters, and then Hammer was like, what if we did that but low budget and just put out 1,000 of them? And so when you hear about Christopher Lee as Dracula, that was in Hammer films. Hammer Studio films.
Okay.
And so I think he's just supposed to be one of those guys. He's just supposed to be washed up, like Hammer-esque films actor. And you see clips of him in several bad vampire movies where he's nailing stakes into people's hearts and just blood is just gushing up comically in his face.
This is the world's most patient vampires who wait while he crosses the room to,
Marian, they're in their coffins and they can't. The first time we see him, the lady just waits for him to come all the way across the room and stake her.
It's like C movie. It's not even B, I don't think.
So, and then of course they have to fight the vampire, and that's I mean, who else would you get but a movie actor who fought vampires to fight vampires?
Right.
Because in Charlie's world, that's
there was a little bit of the flavor of Wizard of Oz to me, like going to this guy who you think can solve all your problems, and then he says, "Oh no, I'm a fraud." Yeah,
effectively.
But then in this case, he actually did kind of, and
it's a redemption arc for Oz, the Great and Powerful. So we start out, like I said, we'll get rolling kind of through the particulars of this because there's some crazy stuff to talk about in the course of this movie. So we meet Peter Vincent, and he's hosting his show, his it's not cable access, but like his local. Do we ever really get an idea of where they are? Feels like California.
I was wondering about that because there's a point when you see Charlie's desk and it's got like a cup holder that I thought said Iowa as in University of. It was black and yellow. Maybe. And I thought it said that. But then why are they going to have this kind of show in Iowa?
Right. And it's also this town, the place that they live it's totally, it's just a series of backlots, obviously.
Yes.
But it is such a series of backlots. Like, what do we need? We've got a very short suburban street where we can see approximately like 3 houses.
Yeah.
Okay, check.
It's a little bit like Sim City, where you have the beach and the mountains and a volcano all within 1 square mile.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, okay, now we need to be downtown. But what if downtown was like a big city downtown with weird winding alleyways and all sorts of stuff it's
gritty.
It doesn't, but somehow they can walk to that from the suburban street.
Right. Yeah.
And there's also a movie studio or a large television studio here that he can wait outside of. Like there's almost no logic to it. It just feels like a series of sets that they move from, from one to the next.
They did not have a very good city planner when they built this town. No.
So, so we pull back to reveal that, we're in Charlie's room. I'm going to keep wanting to call him Billy. Because that's just it's Billy from Gremlins.
Maybe that's why.
It might as well be the same.
Yeah, I really wanted to say character. Billy too. It doesn't help that there is a Billy in this too.
We'll meet him soon.
Yeah.
So we pull back and we're in Charlie's room and he's making out with Marcy Darcy, and but she doesn't want to go all the way.
Well, she didn't even want to go to, I don't know. I've lost my decoding. Yeah, she didn't want to go to second base. Yeah.
He's like creeping the hand under the shirt.
Well, and then all of a sudden.
She's like home run.
Yeah, I was like, you can't steal bases like that. You got to go in order. But it's been a while since high school.
So,
what do I know?
So she's reluctant at first, and then there's a whole like just such a scene that I don't know if does this scene happen today anymore. It's just a frustrated guy going, "God, you're such a tease," and then her going, "I'm sorry, let's actually have sex."
Well, and I also liked we've been going together for a year.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a good time to point out, because to me this becomes very relevant later. They're high school students.
Yes,
they're very clearly shown to be high school students.
Okay.
Just put a pin in that.
I don't know,
because maybe a 40-year-old man is going to seduce a high school girl.
Yes.
Later on in this movie.
Yes.
A clearly high school.
Well, yeah, I found myself at various points I hope the actress is at least 18, because
right.
I'm uncomfortable even if she's 25.
I don't think you could do this with a 16-year-old actress or something.
No.
So anyway, this is it's getting hot and heavy, and Amy, I'm going to try to stop calling her Marcy Darcy.
Yeah.
Amy is on the bed ready to go. And Charlie just happens to look outside and see the 2 men who are moving into the previously abandoned house next door. 2 men moving a coffin into the storm cellar style basement.
Yeah, imagine the storm cellar in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
it's like doors in the ground.
Yeah, the 2 exterior doors. And this distracts him, and he doesn't want to do it. Or he's distracted. She's trying all of her feminine wiles, and it's just not working.
Well, to be fair, I would imagine that seeing a coffin outside is really kind of a boner killer.
Right.
So.
Right. And she just doesn't believe him. Like, she's just like, you just don't want to have sex with me?
You don't want to make love to me.
Right. She's going to say make love a couple times, which is really funny.
I can't stand the phrase make love. Just,
So anyway, this all goes badly. She's ignored, and she heads out, and we're as they head downstairs, we're introduced to Billy's mom. I don't know what Charlie's mom. I don't know what Charlie's mom's name is, but Charlie's mom might as well be Billy's mom from Gremlins.
Yeah, and she's fairly clueless.
Yeah. She gives him a stat. She asks if they're having a lover's quarrel, and she's like, 70% of marriages end in divorce if they didn't have arguments before they were married. Yeah. And he's like, we're in high school, Mom.
Yeah. We, by the way, were good.
We had plenty of
good.
We are never getting divorced, apparently.
No, whether you want to or not.
Either we're stuck. We're stuck. Oh man. So anyway, she reveals that of course Amy gets pissed off because still he's looking out the window, and she storms off, and the mom reveals that apparently someone finally sold the house next door and some guy's moving in, he's going to fix it up. Cool.
And she says, and I hear he's very attractive. Yeah. Charlie Billy's mom is on the prowl.
Yes, because we don't know what happened to Dad.
No.
Also, this is another, and this is just an 80s trope at this point, but we saw this in Gremlins. This is a huge suburban house with a family of questionable means living in it. We know that she works because later in the movie she switches to the night shift. So we know that she works. We don't know what she does, and they have a massive house.
Although his car is clearly not in very good shape.
Well, no, it's a fixer-upper. You can see he has all these posters on the wall of that car,
like
whatever, it's like a Mustang or something.
Okay, I
think he's just fixing it up.
Okay.
I think it's got like primer on it and stuff, but I think it's a project car.
I am going to choose to believe that she is a world-class surgeon.
Yes.
Who has to work overnights. They do heart surgeries at night.
Sure.
There, I don't know. Yeah.
You got to.
And Charlie Billy's father couldn't take being with such a successful woman, and that's why he left. And that's why she's on the prowl, because she's looking for men who can handle her.
Right. I'm
just fan wanking there because I need her to not be as pathetic as she seems. Anyway, let's go.
Yeah. And so also at this scene, we're kind of given some breadcrumbs for what's going to permeate the movie here. The whole vampire thing that, there's a missing lady. Well, no, she was found dead, decapitated at the train yard.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's weird. Dead lady. So
that also, I feel like in a really big city, you don't have crime down to that level reported on TV. So I really can't tell where this is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's totally a place out of time and space.
It's a small town, big city in somewhere in Iowa or California. That's all we know.
In an as yet undiscovered state somewhere between Iowa and Missouri or something. I don't know.
I don't.
Just some white bread meat, white meat, white bread, white meat, white meat, white bread, red meat. Big little city in the Midwest. You know what I mean.
Were they really fans of the University of Iowa?
Yes. So after this, we kind of get the idea that, Amy and Charlie are kind of on the rocks. We were introduced to the fact that they're, again, high school students. And we get our first glimpse of Evil Ed. Evil Ed, who is a friend of Charlie's.
Kind of.
They kind of established through the movie that he's sort of an outcast, sort of picked on.
They sort of told that rather than showed it.
Yes. Like Charlie calls him evil, and he doesn't like that.
And I don't know where that nickname comes from.
It's alliteration. So any nickname is available if it's alliterative.
Sure. I was getting strong Jonathan from Stranger Things vibes off that guy.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like if you had just brushed his hair back, it would have been something about the eyes. He looked like him, and it was...
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
He was sort of mopey, but also dorky at the same time, and yeah.
And this actor, I forget his name, but this actor is in a ton of movies. Like he's in 976 Evil. Like he's just in a ton of these like B horror movies throughout the 80s and 90s. Okay. And just, like I know him and recognize him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he also hasn't done a lot of voice work because he has this just great,
he had some
emotive voice and a lot of range and stuff. But yeah, so we're introduced to him and things not going well with Amy. She throws a chili burger in his face.
There was some force with that.
Because she's trying to make up. It's been some time or whatever. Because we first see they come out of trig class, their high school trigonometry class, and she brushes by them. She's still mad, but then a little bit later on in the cafeteria, I guess. She's trying to make amends, and he's still not paying attention.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was like the malt shop.
Oh, it could have been. It could have been the Peach Pit or whatever.
The Max.
But yeah. He sees on the television that another lady is missing. Just so happens he actually saw this lady, a lady of the night, getting out of a car in front of the new neighbor's house.
She was a lady of the night because she had the slit in her skirt was up to her bottom,
and the slit in the front was down to her navel.
Yes.
So very clearly. So he sees her that she's missing now.
Yeah.
So he's putting two and two together here. I must, you get the idea that we're supposed to already kind of think, but they don't show this well enough that Charlie is maybe just a little bit too into the vampire stuff and the horror stuff, so that when he says, there's a vampire living next to me, everybody's just like, yeah, Charlie, Charlie, you with your vampires, you love the vampires.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not quite sold quite well enough, but and maybe not, because then later he does go to get advice from someone else on what to do about a vampire. So I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting. I know, but it is established that he is a very big Peter Vincent fan.
Yeah. Well, to the point that, earlier Amy stopped them making out to be like, look, Peter Vincent on the television. And I was like, you're tuned to when his show is on. This is not.
You don't want to bone right now. Peter Vincent's watching.
Right.
Maybe I want to do it worse.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
So often in this movie, I found myself going, I'm not old enough to see this.
Yes. Yeah. So, so we're moving on. We're establishing these relationships. There's just a lot of exposition to get through. We got to build this world. And of course, now that he's seen the coffin, so what is he doing now? He's peeping.
Mm-hmm.
He's watching his neighbor now. And what does he see when he looks through the window?
And he sees his neighbor about to get it on with a very attractive young woman. And they're just, I don't know what, like posing for a romance novel cover. They're doing that kind of thing. And she takes her top off and he's like, oh, ooh. And he has binoculars right by the window. And they're
from the coffin, definitely. He's not a serial peeper.
Right. No. Yeah. And they do this whole, thing.
They can't hear that.
No, well,
they can't hear your sexy neck wiggle.
That's just as well. And then all of a sudden, Chris Sarandon, Jerry, it pulls out the fangs. I sort of love how vampires can do that.
Yeah, just boom. And the cool thing about him as a vampire is he's got like multiple stages. Yeah, and the vampires in this was another one of those things that reason it classes in that trilogy is the vampires in this are like, when they're vamped, they're pretty ugly, especially when they're at their farthest degree of vamping.
Terrifying. Yeah.
So they can do like little fangs. Yeah. For feeding or whatever, but when they go into like combat mode, they just go all out, hideous, cartoonishly ugly,
gargoyle-ish. Yeah. Yes. So when he's about to chomp on poor girl's neck, and then he looks up and sees Billy looking through the window, and he kind of makes eye contact. Charlie, yeah, whatever, dude.
Yes, forgive us going forward.
Yeah. And he makes eye contact and pulls the window shade down just a bit,
and this is where we can't
see.
This is where we get the introduction of your favorite thing in this movie. His long, creepy vampire fingers.
Oh, yes. No. Oh, no. I didn't think we saw them there. It was not until he comes over later.
No, because he goes to pull down the shade, and he like very particularly wraps his long, slender, sharp fingernailed fingers. Yeah. So he's got these finger extensions, right? Like it's like one more finger knuckle. Yeah. So it just looks unnatural. And it makes you feel uneasy when you see it.
Yeah. Well, and then often he has very long, shapely, manicured nails. I mean,
yes.
And he's the opposite of the Seinfeld woman with man hands.
Right.
He's got ladies who lunch hands. Yeah. And and he's wearing what looks like a woman's diamond ring.
Yeah, like a skull diamond
and
or something.
A lot of them. Yeah.
That's a vampire ring. So, of course, now Charlie sees a news report, thanks, support your local news, folks, that a lady matching this description has been killed. But this is not before he actually sees them removing the body.
Yeah. Well, and it's all, covered in plastic and, because like these guys know how to cover the tracks. This is Jerry the vampire and his henchman, also named Billy, unfortunately.
Actually named Billy, unlike Charlie, who's not named Billy.
Yes.
They're taking it out. They're taking the body out and putting it into his sweet Jeep to dispose of. We assume he's going to drive it to one of the various locations where they dump these bodies. And Charlie kind of goes out to sort of peep on them a little further. And we're introduced to the concept that Jerry can like transform into a bat or whatever.
It took me a little bit to realize that's what it was. Like you saw this sort of bird's eye view and heard sort of a whomp, whomp, whomp. And I thought it was footsteps, but it was wings.
I think there's like 3 footsteps and then wings.
Okay.
So you hear like it's from the awning or whatever looking down, like from the top of the roof looking down. And there's a little bit of a standoff, and he runs away. And this is where we're kind of introduced to the fact that Jerry is always eating an apple or fruit. Always. He's every time he enters every scene eating fruit. So he's eating an apple and he throws it near where Billy's hiding in the bushes spying on them.
And he took a monstrous bite. Giant. I mean, like through the core and everything, which people who eat the cores of apples, it's
perfectly good apple meat.
No,
I'm not a core eater.
There's arsenic in those things. Yeah, not good.
Yeah. So anyway, this gets of course gets Charlie freaked out, and he goes to the cops. And for some reason they send the guy from Die Hard 2 who helps John McClane figure out how to reprogram the nav beacon in. No, it's the same actor. The actor who plays the cop is... I can't remember if I've seen that one. Okay. He's this character actor who plays in a lot of stuff, but I always remember him as the guy who helps John McClane in Die Hard 2.
He is no Carl Winslow. No.
True.
Yeah. Wish they sent him.
He's no Carl Winslow.
I don't know what his name was in Die Hard 1, but...
Yeah. God. Hi, pal. All I remember is pal. Anyway.
Anyway, okay.
So Billy has sort of realized that he can't tell the cops that it's a vampire, because he's already tried to tell a couple of other people and they've said, you're crazy. It's not a vampire. And so he's identifying them as, hey, I saw this girl that's missing. I saw them. They were loading her body. She's dead. She's here. Let's check. And Billy, who is just very sort of, he's being like smooth with the cop, but also mildly like threatening to Billy. Yeah. Like anytime there's a chance to leer at him, he's leering at him. Yeah. Yeah. And it just doesn't go well. It doesn't go well for Billy. Yeah. Cause
he once he's used up all of his good lines, he's like, it's a coffin. Go, you'll find him in a coffin. And the cop's like, well, what now? Yeah. What? And then the cop just leaves and washes his hands of the whole thing and is like, if you ever come in the station again, I will have you under arrest. Don't pull this nonsense again.
Yeah. Yeah. So now Billy's pissed off, or Charlie. Billy's pissed off.
Yes.
The manservant Billy is pissed off. And so Charlie's now, he's overplayed his hand. I mean, they already knew it was him, but they've overplayed his hand, and he's now they know. Yeah. And they're going to have to do something about it.
And he goes to Evil, who says, here's what you do. Holy water and a cross and garlic. And, he says ropes and ropes of garlic. And I'm sorry that we did not get to see Charlie with like ropes of garlic around his neck, because that would have been fantastic. But he says, and don't forget, a vampire cannot come in your house unless he's invited by the rightful owner. And immediately I was like, okay, I know what's...
You're like, oh, okay, so now we know what's going to happen. And then immediately...
I mean, there was it was so obvious. Why wait, really?
It's a 1-2 punch. It's just immediately... Yeah. Oh, Charlie, come downstairs. There's someone I want you to meet.
Yes, and you see it's one of those wingback chairs, and it's you can't, like, his face is hidden, but you see the hand with the creepy fingernails and the creepy ring, and it's just kind of like, it's not drumming on the side of the chair, but it practically is. It's like fanning out the fingers all together, and you just know who it is. Yeah, and it's Jerry, who is usually wearing this red scarf.
Yeah, and like
very
overcoat,
foppish looking, like He's like a French version of the Unsolved Mysteries guy, between the trench coat and the scarf.
Sure, yeah.
But sexy. It's
very, very. So
I don't mind admitting I found him sexy.
No, I mean you're supposed to.
Like, so
you're supposed to. He's supposed to be.
But still, I was like, I'm not old enough to have this feeling.
Yes.
I'm not.
So his mom, who we already established, is cruising. Yeah. So she was more than happy to invite him over, and not so subtly drink Bloody Marys with him.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
Nice little bit of, so, there, and to which he says, Jerry says, oh, yeah, your mom was nice enough to invite me over. In fact, now that I've been invited over,
I'll come over all the time.
Whenever I want.
And then Mom doubles down. Well, yes, anytime. Anytime.
So then that night, because he's been invited in, I mean, that's pretty much it for Billy.
He doesn't waste any time. Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry comes in and, Billy's, he has a little cross or whatever, he thinks he's prepared, or he's prepared as he can be, I guess. And, Jerry comes in for some reason. He comes into the mom's room. I mean, I guess the reason is to trap the mom in the room. And, they do a nice little effect here where when he's leaving the room, he's leaving the bedroom, he comes in, he like leers over the mom's bed in like a weird way.
Yeah.
And, as he's leaving the bedroom, he's walking in front of a mirror and you don't see him. And then the door opens, he's in the foreground. The actor is in the foreground and he opens the door, and in the mirror you see nothing and you see the door open.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I was wondering, I wanted to point it out when it happened.
Okay.
Because almost certainly the way they did that shot was that there was another room built on the other side of that mirror.
Yeah.
And, and they were, because you could just tell from the angle that they shot it at. And it's like, I like effects, like practical effects like that in 80s movies, because they went to an extreme amount of effort, almost certainly. I'm sure there are other ways they maybe could have done it, but I know there are certain scenes, like there's a deleted scene in Terminator 2 where they're looking in a mirror, and they literally built a copy of the set on the other side of the mirror.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And had what's her name? The lady Linda Hamilton, her twin sister.
What?
On the other side of the mirror in the other set. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So that's fantastic.
Basically what they wanted to do, and I don't know why I'm going into this now, there's probably going to be a Terminator 2 episode of this.
Okay.
They wanted to do a pan, like a 180 pan around, because they're doing this, they're taking a chip out of the Terminator's head. So you can see the back of Arnold's head and you can see Linda Hamilton in the foreground. And then they're in front of a mirror. And in the mirror you can see Arnold facing, out, because obviously he's being reflected in the mirror, and you can see Linda Hamilton working on his head in the mirror. So they do this, and they do this pan around. Well, you can't do that pan around because you'll see the camera, in a normal shot. Nowadays, they would just do some freaking wizardry with animation, with 3D, and they would just take it out. So they built an entire other set on the other side of that mirror and had her twin sister. They were trying to figure out, how are we going to do this? Because she was built for that movie. She got like real buff.
Oh, I remember that.
And they're like, how are we going to find a foreground person who will have those shoulders? And she was just like, oh, I got a twin sister. They were like, what? Yeah, I got a twin sister. We'll just put my twin sister there.
Oh, that's pretty great.
So they built an entire mirrored set on the other side of this little window and did the whole thing there. And I'm wondering if they did something like that here. But yeah, it was just a great moment, a great effect. Just one of those things where it's not on screen much. Yeah. You didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's a certain amount of craftsmanship there that they go to that.
Somebody is very proud of that.
Yes. And it was great, yeah. Because there's an easy way to do that they do later, where someone looks in a mirror and they just see all of the actors but the one who's supposed to be a vampire standing there.
Yeah, I thought later they do it in the club, right?
And they do it a few times.
That was not as well done.
They do it a few times, yeah.
Yeah.
And but this one was just so great. As he walks out the door, the door opens in the mirror and closes, and he's not there. And it was just, the timing was great. Everything was great about it. So,
and then I thought, didn't he, when he closes the door, he kind of pulls it so much that it crushes the door frame, right?
He
and then
pops the jam,
like vampire super strength. Remember?
Yes, remember.
Yeah, I was going over in my head this episode of The L Word where there was a woman who was suspected to be a vampire, and you never knew. That was the whole joke of the episode. But I was like, okay, wait, no mirrors, super strength, very sexy. Yeah, okay, okay. So he meets the L Word test. So
nice.
Yeah.
So anyway, he goes and roughs up Charlie
a lot.
Billy. He roughs him up, throws him around, gets crazy.
The room is destroyed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he tries his cross gimmick, but he just knocks it away. And, he's telling him, the thing I like about this scene is he's like, I'm going to give you a choice. Just forget about me. Just forget what you saw, and I'll let you live. But if you don't, I'm going to have to kill you and your mom and everybody, and it's just going to be horrible. So let's just, just stop, because you really created a lot of trouble. Because you get the impression that Jerry's been moving around from place to place, because you can only be in one place so long before the bodies pile up. So here he is. it's probably a lot of effort for him to move around and all this stuff. So he's like, hey, yeah, just leave me alone. Just forget I exist. Charlie can't do it. He grabs his cross and, he just gets tossed aside.
Is that when we have the first instance of the concept of you have to have faith in it for it to work?
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that time. It might be.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, this is when he stabs him with the pencil.
Right. Yeah. And so he's like pushing him out the window. Jerry's pushing Charlie out the window, and we established that if he falls, he's going to fall into a picket fence, which which he will be impaled.
Yes, there's a picture of Amy that falls out. It was on his desk and falls out the window, and and her face goes right through the hole. And I was like, that's a little on the nose, but okay.
Yeah. So he manages to find a pencil, which is, I guess, wood. So that's why he reacts this way and stabs him in the hand, and he does not like it, and he vamps out fully, like his just monster face. And then luckily Billy's mom wakes up, and just her calling for Billy is enough for Jerry to run off.
She's trapped in a room because I guess because of the door jam?
Yeah, the door. He stuck the door.
Yeah. Even though I thought the door opened in.
Well, yeah. So I think the idea is he, like there's a little thing built into the door jam that keeps the door from opening all the way. Like you pull a door in, and there's a frame inside of the door jam that it. And I think the idea was he pulled it past that, so it essentially got stuck on the wood or whatever.
Anyway,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever. The door was stuck.
Call Bob Vila for the full explanation. Anyway,
yes. Call Bob Vila's ghost.
He's still alive.
Oh, is he?
I think so.
Just doesn't seem.
He's not on this old house, but he's around. He does ads for like reverse mortgages or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, Jerry runs off, and now now Charlie knows he's done because
he is in big trouble.
Tomorrow night, that's it. He's dead.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He's got to figure something out. Yeah. So what would you do?
Who else can you turn to? Well, there's no high school science teacher to go to in this episode, so he goes to the next best thing, the TV presenter. And he goes
Vincent.
to the TV studio. I did notice because at this point I had just seen the Iowa thing, and the TV station is K something, which means it's west of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
So it could very well be in Iowa. I don't know. Anyway, we'll never find out.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
We could just Google it, but we'll never know.
Well, drop us a line if you know. But anyway, so he ambushes Vincent as Vincent is leaving. Like, you got to help me. You're the vampire cure. And the guy's like, shut up. I've just been fired. Nobody believes in vampires anymore. Leave me alone.
It's like, I believe in vampires.
Yeah.
Well, if there were just a few more of you. And I love Roddy McDowall's performance in all this. I will tell you right now, like, Roddy McDowall, it seems like one of those actors. I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite actors, but every time I see him in anything, he always just feels so effortless in his roles. There's something about just the way he has a very sort of natural style, and his voice is just so distinctive to me as someone who listened to him all these years as the various characters that he played in all the different Planet of the Apes movies. It's so his performance is so effortless, and it's just as soon as I'm introduced to him, it's just like that's the feeling I get. Like, oh, just Roddy McDowall, like you're just such a good actor, man. Why aren't you in more stuff? And and he's like, he says something like, oh, no one believes in vampires anymore or whatever. And he's just like borderline melodramatic all the time, anytime he's speaking.
Yes, lots.
And he's like, Charlie's like, I believe, and I've got one living next to me, and you got to come help me kill him. And he's just like, you're crazy. Yeah. Go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you take the Wizard of Oz view of this, it's because he actually does not know anything about how to kill a vampire. And he just is like,
he is in wrestling, they have a term, living your gimmick.
Okay.
And that's kind of what he's doing. Like he is all he has ever been is this guy who played in these B-grade horror movies. He played this vampire killer, and he's parlayed that in late in his life into this, small time gig on this Fright Night local show. And, he's living his gimmick. Like he talks about vampires like they're real to a certain extent, all the time. And but if you consider him a fraud, you would consider him a fraud because he's not brave. He doesn't know anything. The vampires don't really exist. Yada yada yada. Like, he doesn't believe his own hype.
Yeah.
But even when he's not on camera and he doesn't need to be in his gimmick, he's living his gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
He's still acting like he's a vampire hunter, and vampires are real even when he's off screen.
Yeah. But he won't go far enough to say, "Oh yes, I'll help you fight them,"
Right,
because he's like, no fool he.
Yeah, because he's like, this guy is crazy. He thinks vampires are real.
Yes. So he sends Charlie away.
Yeah, and Charlie ends up. So he's like, all right, well, I'm going to take Ed's advice. I'm going to just deck out my room in crosses and ropes of garlic.
I mean, there are more votive candles here than the Vatican. And there's a statue of Mary there. I don't know if that helps any with vampires, but might as well. I mean, sure. You know, can't hurt.
It's why it can't hurt. Right. Exactly. Yeah. He's like getting himself ready for the night.
Yeah, and Ed and Amy come to his room, and he is sharpening a stick, like he's got a whittling knife, and he's just
sharpening a picket from the fence.
I think yes.
I think
yeah. And they are like, "Whoa,
yeah,
how you doing, Charlie?
What are you doing?
A little intense."
And he's already kind of told both of them, I think, about the vampire stuff earlier in the movie, and he's like, "Yeah, it's going to kill me tonight. Tonight's the night, because he came over here and he beat me up, and tonight's the night, and he's going to kill me." And they're like, "Oh, well, what if we asked Peter Vincent to help you?" And he's like, "Nope, already done it. Already been there."
Oh, you're really deep into this.
Well, okay.
Oh, well, we'll go talk to him. You stay here. We'll... And then they actually do go to him. Right. They find him in his apartment.
His sad little apartment.
His apartment is actually rather decked out. It kind of looks like you would imagine the character living in.
It looks like the apartment of someone who acts like Peter Vincent. It's just filled with his own memorabilia from his movies and all of his stuff. Like it's a temple to Peter Vincent.
Yeah. Well, it looked very British, I thought. Little.
Oh yeah. And when they come in, he changes into a smoking jacket.
Yeah, that was.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah, you should get a smoking jacket.
Yes,
by the way.
I should actually. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking, I should also smoke pipes.
You should wear more cravats.
Yes.
And ascots and.
That's one thing at a time, please.
Okay. So smoking jacket first. All right.
Yes, we'll start small.
Yeah.
I just got into bedroom slippers, like house slippers. So we got it. I'm taking it one at a time here.
Do we need a dog to bring the slippers to you? I hear that's a thing that men like.
Why? I have a wife to do that for me.
Oh no.
And that was an episode of this episode.
Remember what we said about having fights before marriage?
Last episode
means you're less likely to divorce. Well, not foolproof.
Oh goodness.
Anyway, I did sort of bring that on myself
a little bit. So
anyway,
so they talk to him and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember this crazy guy," and they're basically like, what they, because of course they don't believe Charlie, because why would you? It's crazy. So they're like, "Look, can you just do something to make him think that his neighbor isn't a vampire?
Come and give him a test of some sort.
Just help us out. Just do something." And he's like, "Nah. Like I just got a role in a Hollywood movie." And
he does not, in fact.
He does not, because he just got an eviction notice for his apartment.
Yes.
And so Amy's like, "I can pay you." And he's like, "Ooh, how much?" And she's like, "I have a $500 savings bond." He's like, Done. I'll take the job." And
I've found my purpose. Let's go.
Hollywood can wait.
Yes. And Hollywood's like, yes, we can.
Yeah. So they devise this scheme that they're going to go do a vampire check on Jerry Dandridge, and for some reason, Evil Ed calls Jerry. I don't know how they have his phone number.
Yeah, well, and they call him, and they're basically, I mean, because they assume that he's not a vampire, and so they're like, we're going to do this test and just drink the water, and it's totally tap water, and just
Well, first he's like, they're like crosses, and he's like, "No, I'm a born again Christian. That would be sacrilegious." Right. Holy water? No, still I'm a Christian. That would be sacrilegious. What if it's just tap water?
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, that's fine. Sure, no problem. So okay, here we go. $500 later, Peter Vincent is on board, and they go and they get Charlie, and they head over to Jerry's house for this vampire test. And it's all sort of winking and nodding from Vincent to Billy and Jerry, and it's just sort of, okay, we're going to do this little song and dance, and then we're going to get out, and Charlie's having none of it, but still. they kind of walk through, because at this point, Charlie's like, he thinks Peter Vincent is on board.
Yeah.
And he's like, aren't you going to bring your vampire kid? As soon as we prove he's not a vampire, he's going to vamp out on us. We got to kill him.
He's like, no. One test at a time. We'll be fine.
Charlie, I must first prove he's a vampire.
Yes, I know how this works. I've done it a million times.
And there's not enough of this. I wish there was more of it. Because later on in the Harry Potter movies, Kenneth Branagh does a great job of this, where Peter Vincent very often references his former roles, just like in my movie. Oh yeah, Orgy of the Dead. Yeah. And the character in was it the second Harry Potter?
Yeah.
The dark arts teacher,
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yes. Oh, just like the time I did this. I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more of Peter Vincent hearkening back to his glory days, because that would have kind of rounded the character out.
Yeah.
So they go inside, take the holy water.
Nothing happens.
He takes the little vial, and nothing happens. And he's like, all right. And Charlie's like, you must have faked it. And then there's a little bit of wink and a nod, like, have you already caused your friends enough pain, Charlie?
Right. You wouldn't want to have them die of embarrassment, would you?
Charlie. Yeah. So they decide to go, and this is about the time that Peter Vincent pulls out his little cigarette case, which is one of the ways that he had discovered a vampire in Orgy of the Damned or whatever the hell.
It has a mirror on the inside.
Right, it's got a mirror on the inside. So, he's just like, all right, 500 easy bucks, here we go, we're good. And he pulls out his little cigarette case, and he
looks behind him,
and there is no
and there are 3
Jerry
people
Dent.
reflected when there should be 4.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
So Peter Vincent kind of freaks out, and he drops the cigarette case, and then sort of just ushers everybody out, like rushes everybody out.
Yeah.
And when they get outside, Charlie's like, "What's wrong with you? You saw something, didn't you? You saw it."
No, nothing.
It's nothing.
Yes, you did. Okay, he's not in the mirror.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't.
He's real.
And he's freaked out, obviously.
And he has left. It broke into several pieces. I'm sort of surprised it didn't turn into like 7 years of bad luck. We didn't even bring the bad luck thing in it. But anyway, so a shard of it fell out of the case and is left there. And Jerry discovers this soon after they've left. And he's like, oh.
So now he knows.
He knows.
So he knows that Peter knows.
Yes.
And so now it's on. So the movie kind of just escalates from here. This is sort of like, this is the point at which everything after this happens over the course of several hours and is, the whole movie takes place over like 2 days or something.
Yeah. If they had that website, runp.com, like this, go now because
there's not going to be a good downtime.
No.
From here. So Peter Vincent runs off because he's scared as hell. And this leaves Charlie and Amy and Ed to get home. And for some reason, I guess Amy lives on the complete other side of town, in the suburbs that are across the other side of downtown.
Yeah.
Somehow. So they've got to walk her home because previously Jerry destroyed Charlie's car basically as a way to send him a message.
Yes. Well, and Jerry basically had eye sex with Amy. So we know that she is in his sights.
Yes. Well, and also earlier when Charlie was in the house with the cop, he was kind of rummaging through some stuff as the cop was talking to Billy, and he saw a painting of a woman that looked just like Amy, but with longer hair.
Yeah.
And that was like, that's weird. And then as soon as, of course, Jerry saw Amy, he kind of went, enchanté, and went up and kissed her hand.
Yeah, and she predictably melts.
Yes. And she's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean...
Yes. Wouldn't you, ladies?
I don't think anyone's ever kissed my hand. Meaningful look at my husband.
That seems like something I would have done.
Maybe.
Just as a joke, if nothing else.
As a joke, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Well, keep an eye out at some point between now and 30 years from now. I will genuinely kiss your hand.
Okay.
Write it down.
Good. All right.
So they're hot footing home at this point. Ed wants to just run off by himself, but Charlie's like, we got to take the lady home first. We got to take Amy home. So they're heading through, and Ed and Amy essentially are satisfied that this is over, but not over, because they didn't really buy the Peter Vincent thing or whatever. So they don't really think that Jerry's a vampire. So Ed is giving him a hard time, and he's saying, isn't the way home down this dark alley? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, are you scared? Charlie's like, if you're so brave, Ed, why don't you go down the dark alley by yourself? Because we're going to stick to the light and as many people as we can to stay safe.
Yeah. And Ed's like, fine, I will.
He's like, fine, Jerry, I will. And so he heads off down the alley as Charlie and Amy keep going. And of course, predictably,
yes.
Ed is accosted by Jerry, who again is in his finest overcoat and red scarf.
Yeah.
And
that's his hunting outfit, I guess.
Yes, apparently.
Yeah.
And he chases him down the alley and he does some vampire stuff. He turns to mist or whatever, and he appears in places that he shouldn't be.
Well, and this is like the world's twistiest alley that doesn't come out anywhere. I was like, that doesn't seem up to
eventually
code.
It comes up to a dead end.
Yeah, that's
like,
not.
This isn't how alleys work.
The trash trucks have to back up the whole way. Right. I don't like that.
So and then you get this like interesting interaction between Jerry and Ed where basically Ed is like down, he's bawling and he knows he's done because this guy is a real vampire, and he's like, Ed, you don't have to be sad anymore, you don't have to get picked on or be made fun of,
it
like,
won't have to hurt, just take my hand, we'll
make sure that no one ever messes with you again,
which is a whole side of Ed that we had not really seen. There was only these barest hints, and I was kind of
not well enough established.
Okay, I guess we're doing this now. Sure.
You don't really you never really get a good idea of what Ed is. Like, is he like, is he supposed to be a computer geek or something? Because I think when they go to his house, he has a computer or something. Is he like a movie nerd?
In the 80s, that's all you needed to be a computer geek. Yeah, was to have a computer.
Yeah, that is true. Is he like bullied? Like, what is it? We never really get any of this established other than through this conversation right here. Yeah. So anyway, he feeds on Ed's insecurities, and Ed takes his hand and truly becomes evil Ed at that point.
Yeah.
So as Ed is being vamped or whatever, Amy and Charlie they're heading out. They're trying to get away, and now they kind of know, because now they can sense that they're being stalked. And here's Jerry appears in his finest coat and scarf, and they start hot-footing it after the power outage. They're walking down the alley, and all of a sudden the lights flash and go out, and they're just like, oh, that must be related to the weather. Pan over to a destroyed electrical box.
And it's in flames.
Yeah, like in flames.
Yeah. But then they keep walking and they see Jerry behind them. Yeah. And so they jump into the open window of a restaurant kitchen. Like,
well, yeah. So they try to, they hear people. So they go, but it's like a line to get into like a club or something. And then they head down the alleyway, and then he's in front of him, he's behind him, he's in front of him, he's behind him. He's doing I'm a teepee, I'm a wigwam, I'm a teepee.
What?
Calm down, man, you're too tense.
Oh my God.
But
oh, geez. Like, okay. No, I didn't. Okay. Anyway, so then they jump.
So the only way out is to jump in this window
straight
of the club.
Over like the food prep table where they're onions and peppers, and they're like, excuse us.
The probably stereotypical Italian chefs, like, hey, what are you doing in here?
Right. Right.
And so
they make a lot of meatballs in the nightclub. No nightclub I've been to has that big of a kitchen, but who cares?
Step onto my spaghetti. And
I'm sorry, we don't mean to stereotype.
It's totally intentional. So they get out into the nightclub proper, and they're trying to call the police, and the police don't believe them, and they're trying to find a way out, and they're sort of hiding, and then Jerry is in there, and all of a sudden he's got his jacket off, and he's got his finest weird European sweater on.
Yeah, and I can't imagine anyone other than Chris Sarandon playing this, because he's got the face for it.
Well, you don't have to imagine it, because there is a 2010 remake of this where I believe Colin Farrell plays this role.
What?
Yes.
No.
I believe, I haven't seen it, and I believe David Tennant plays the Roddy McDowall role.
What?
So, this might be worth watching. I've actually heard that it's okay too. I've heard that it is not bad. So
okay, Colin Farrell.
I can imagine him in that role pretty well.
I can't.
I don't know. I think I could buy it.
No,
him as sort of this swarthy European vampire.
Who would I don't know. I don't know who I would. I'll have to think about it. We'll see if I've come up with anybody by the end. But
fantasy casting this movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's calling. He's stalking around in the club looking for them. Jerry is, and they call Peter Vincent. Peter Vincent's like, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah.
So Jerry's stalking him in the club, and while Charlie's talking to Peter Vincent, he uses his vampire.
So
magic.
was that? Yeah, that's like some sort of a trance that she was in.
I think so. Like,
okay.
In the classic Dracula movies, there would be this like tight close up of Bela Lugosi's eyes with lights shining on them.
Yeah.
Come to me. That sort of thing.
You cannot resist.
Sure.
Stop it.
And so he lures Amy over, and they do some very dirty dancing. There's hands under skirts, and
there's
buttocks being grabbed.
Crouches down.
Yes, there were several different times you were shielding your eyes, and I'm not old enough for this. Tell me when I can open my eyes, Dad.
Yes. This is rated R.
True.
Deservedly.
Yes.
But yeah.
Very seductive. And again, this is a high school student.
Yes. This is where I was like, please tell me the actress is at least 18.
And if this movie were made today, they'd have to do this thing where they're like establishing that they're in their like they're right in the last semester of high school, and that they're both already 18.
Yeah.
That both the kids are already 18. Like they'd have to put some references in there, like, well, in the fall when we go off to college.
Yeah.
Like, so you just be like, oh, no, she's 18. It was technically
at the very, very least. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I voted in the primary last month because I'm already 18. Yeah.
I voted for Dukakis last month. You okay? You gonna make it?
Amy seems to me like a Mondale voter.
Yes,
really.
Yes. Wait,
really?
it would have
when
been was Dukakis? Was it?
Dukakis was 88.
88. Okay,
Mondale would have been in 84. No, I'm mostly laughing at your derpy voice there.
I don't think I can do it again. I don't remember what it was.
It's lost to the ages.
That's it. It's not. It's forever preserved in recording. So anyway, they engage in some very sensual dancing here.
And nobody seems to notice what they're doing.
No, yeah, like the club, everybody's in the club just doing their cool 80s moves, and these two are slow dancing to like a not slow dance song.
Yeah, they're
and just grinding,
dry humping,
very sort of lambada sort of. lot of hands moving, and
I forgot all about the lambada.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Keep going. So anyway, let's go to something completely different. So while they're doing their dirty dancing, still Peter Vincent is like, no, I can't do it. And so we cut over to Peter Vincent's house, where a rap on the door at Peter Vincent's house, and it is Ed, who is very sort of distressed and hurried or whatever. And Peter Vincent comes to the door, and he's like, "Yes, child, what's the matter?" And Ed reveals that he is in fact now evil Ed. He is now a vampire, and he reveals his. Are you okay? You okay over there? You gonna make it? She's still going. Somebody put a clock on this. I think I've broken her.
It's been a very tense week. I have a lot of tension.
Let it out. Just let it all out. Let it all out. It's all right. It's going to be okay. So Ed turns into a vampire, and he has the gnarliest teeth. He has these like crazy top fangs and these bottom fangs that like jut out. He looks real evil as a vampire.
He needs like vampire braces. They don't really line up properly.
Well, he's new. He's a new vampire. So
he hasn't grown in his permanent vampire teeth.
It takes some time. After your first couple of kills, they straighten up, I guess. So he fights. He attacks Peter Vincent. And Peter Vincent manages to to slap a cross across his forehead and puts this like gnarly X brand on his forehead. And so it is established that crosses only work on Jerry, if you believe, but this, as well as other stuff in the movie, kind of leads me to believe that lesser vampires, just the sight of a cross, but sort of a head vampire, if you will, takes a little more. Sort
of similar to in Gremlins, the Mogwai are one way, and then the next gen are another way, and you imagine like the third gen would be even more, worse, even more derpy. So this is like the opposite.
Yeah, yeah. That. So he is less. Has most of the powers, but more of the weaknesses. Maybe, I don't know. So anyway, he gets a gnarly brand across his face and runs away, and so now Peter Vincent's like, oh my god,
yeah.
This is crazy. Like this guy attacked me, blah, 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 whatever.
And it leaps out the window.
Yeah,
right?
He jumps out the window. Yeah.
It's like Helen Hunt in that Angel Dust after school special. There was.
I don't remember that.
I haven't seen it. I've just heard about it. She was on Angel Dust, which we were all warned about in the 80s. And then she just, Anyway.
Oof. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, now, they get out of the club and we're back in the club now. Peter Vincent has a little come to Jesus moment while you were laughing hysterically.
Yes. Don't get me started again.
Charlie confronts Jerry and Jerry's just like, nah, she's coming with me. And a couple of burly security guards go to stop them. And
no match.
Jerry's just like, no, I'm just going to cut your throat out with my sharp, long, weird fingers.
Yeah.
And so he just dispatches the two security guards, which freaks everybody in the club out. So they all go running, and Charlie manages to grab Amy, and they're running out. But in the ruckus, they get separated, and
then whoops, here's Jerry to get Amy to safety. Yeah,
swoop, and so. Charlie sees Amy taken away.
Yeah.
And at some point he's told, I forget when or how, that Amy's going to die if Charlie and Peter Vincent don't show up tonight at Jerry's estate. Mm-hmm. So now Charlie again tries to get, I don't know if it's a phone call or somebody, he tries to get Peter Vincent. Peter Vincent's still like, he's afraid. He's like, nah. Jerry's like, well, whatever. I got to go. I got to do it. So Charlie heads over to Jerry's place, only to be happily surprised by Peter Vincent, who's there with all of his vampire hunting gear.
Yeah, it's sort of unclear what led to this change of heart, but whatever. We don't.
I don't know if the sequence was if it was the Ed fight or what. I don't remember.
It doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Peter Vincent has a change of heart.
Yeah,
although not a complete change of heart. As we'll see, he's not quite found his inner Peter Vincent, even though he's repeating to himself like, "I am Peter Vincent, vampire hunter," or whatever. Yeah. Like he's trying to psych himself up. So they head in to do the confrontation, and Peter Vincent's like, I have an idea. We should go around back. And to which the door just opens.
Like,
oh, well, we lost the element of surprise.
Too late.
So it's off to a pretty bad start. So they go inside, and it just gets worse from there.
Yeah.
Billy shows up, and Jerry and Peter Vincent pulls out the cross, to which Jerry says,
you have to have faith.
You have to have faith. Like, this doesn't work. And he just crushes this metal cross with his gnarly fingers.
Yes.
And then Billy shows up and backhands Charlie off the staircase. And then Peter Vincent, faced with, this vampire foe and his henchman, and he's all by himself.
He's got, fight or flight, and he chooses flight.
He just turns tail and runs.
Yes, which, I don't blame him, really.
And I mean, so it's possible it's not 100% a cowardly run, because he runs next door to Charlie's house.
Yeah.
And he is calling for Charlie's mom, Ms. Brewster or whatever. And he goes to call the police, but the phone lines are cut. And he's like, oh my gosh, the phone lines are cut. So he heads upstairs, and he finds Charlie's mom sleeping on the bed. And
except
he goes to pull back the covers, and
there was a Raggedy Ann doll that I had noticed before. And I was like, why does a grown woman have a Raggedy Ann doll? And who knows?
Everybody had a Raggedy Ann doll in 1985.
Oh God, that sounds.
Every female in my family.
Well, I did too.
Had a Raggedy Ann doll.
I did too, but I was 8.
Sure.
So anyway, whatever. So that's under the covers, like, and the doll's hair is her hair, and it's Ed. So,
it's Ed.
Trying to pretend, and he is in full vamp.
Yes,
mode.
Gnarly vamp mode, and he's here for revenge, obviously, because I don't think he was intentionally there. I feel like Ed's just sort of a trickster. I don't think he was waiting for Peter Vincent. I think he's just a trickster because he in fact came to, I guess, get Charlie's mom, only to find that, as had been hinted at earlier,
she's working nights. She's doing heart surgery.
Yeah, right, of course.
And her, and they fight, and Vincent eventually escapes and goes down the hall, and then we see what we assume to be is Ed coming after him, except Ed has transformed into a wolf.
Yes, as vampires do.
Well, yeah, okay. So, and there was mention earlier of vampires can take many forms, bats, wolves, blah, blah, blah. But really? Is that true? When I see a creature that's a wolf, I think a werewolf.
Well, so...
And Twilight tells me that vampires and werewolves are mortal enemies, and Twilight doesn't lie.
That's true.
Right?
So... What I would say is they are going 100% universal Dracula here, I think, because they have it's / Bram Stoker, I think.
Okay.
Because they show at some point that Jerry has to sleep in a coffin with earth from his homeland in it. So they show there's a point where you see them prepping his coffin. I think it's right before they come in. Or at some point anyway.
Okay.
And they're moving dirt from a box into the coffin. So that's sort of a classic. I think that's a Bram Stoker / Universal Dracula.
Okay.
And then that's also where they establish that vampires can shapeshift. They can turn to mist. They can turn to bats. And that they do sometimes turn to wolves as well.
Okay.
So, yes. So a werewolf is a different thing. It's like a half man, half wolf, whatever.
Yeah.
Vampires are literally just transforming into
wolves.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I think that's in the Bram Stoker Universal Dracula sort of tradition.
Interesting. So this is sticking more to canon than you would realize if you didn't know.
Yes. Yes. And that's sort of, I talk about my trilogy. That's kind of the part that this one plays in the trilogy. Like it's very faithful to the vampire myth, literature and et cetera. While also showing us a not Dracula vampire, sort of a modern vampire. Okay. So he turns into a wolf, and he makes it a lunge. There's a great moment here where it doesn't matter, but you can totally see the different wolves that they use because they're like obviously there are going to be trained wolves, and there are going to be when you have trained animals, you have animals that do a certain thing.
Yeah.
Like if you have a trained bear, you don't have a trained bear that can stand on his hind legs and run and climb a tree and do a really fierce growl into the camera. You have a different bear for almost every one of those.
Okay.
Same thing with wolves, I'm assuming, because the wolf that runs out of the room is a very sort of white and gray and dark black sort of timber wolf, kind of just typical looking wolf. And then there's one where it's a close up and he growls, and that wolf is like
totally
two
different.
shades darker.
Oh, I didn't know.
2 shades lighter. Completely different wolf, but because that's the growling wolf.
Yeah.
And you've got the running wolf, which is what you see for most of the scene. And then you've got the growling wolf that is a totally different wolf, but growls at the camera.
Well, one of the wolves gets shivved with a table leg.
Yes.
Vincent at one point was, I don't know.
He falls backwards through like a console table.
Crushes a little table. Maybe that's a reason to always buy cheap furniture so you can transform it into a shiv.
Well, then that begs the question, is particle board wood in terms of the ability to kill a vampire?
So maybe balsa wood.
Can a $20 IKEA pressboard table actually kill a vampire? Tune in for the next episode of Mythbusters to find out.
I feel like there needs to be a movie about this.
That's a gag somebody's got to have somewhere. It's like they stab him with something and it doesn't do anything, and he pulls it out and he goes, "It's just laminate."
Yeah,
it's just laminate. Like that's a veneer.
It's made from recycled soda bottles. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is enough wood that it kills the thing and it falls to the floor, and it's great. Like, and you see this wolf completely shivved through. I mean, it went through is, and it's in the death agonies and it crawls off screen slowly. Oh, yeah,
it's just like a horrible, like there's so much put into this death scene.
Yeah.
So much.
And Vincent goes downstairs and he's just kind of standing like, 4 feet away, like watching this in horror. And I was really expecting the wolf and
like
whatever to be like, but no, like this is, and it gradually transforms back into this, like, what I think of as a werewolf, like this man wolf, really ugly creature thing.
It's like
and then
a half
it's
step.
Vampire Ed.
Yeah,
and then it's regular Ed without even the cross scar on his forehead.
And they do a great, so the mid 80s was the time where a lot of this stuff was getting redefined, right? You had movies like The Howling that were redefining werewolves and American Werewolf in London, redefining sort of werewolves. And the thing that they all had in common is that they all do these like painful visceral transformations, and you kind of get that in reverse as he's reverting back from the wolf into, obviously he's not a werewolf, but I'm saying like you get that same kind of. There were a lot of young special effects artists flexing their muscles on their ability to film something and then reverse it into unwerewolf. They do like the there's a thing that they do in American Werewolf where his limbs grow. Like there's a scene where he holds his hand up and it like gets longer in this weird way. And the same thing happens with the foot. And they do that in reverse here where his foot is down and he's like on his tiptoe and his foot like comes back down into a human foot. And it's very clearly like a reverse thing, but it's great. Like the overall effect is great. Yeah. And it's just this really long and drawn out, like kind of, at a certain point, it's uncomfortable.
There was a point where I was like, okay, I get it. Like if he's not going to lunge back, let's just put the guy out of his misery.
And I think, Roddy McDowall is selling it by crying in the scene. Yeah. And I think that's what you're supposed to get. Like it's supposed to be uncomfortably long and graphic because you're just like, this poor innocent kid just a day ago was just this bullied whatever. Yeah. And now here he is like breathing his last breath. Yeah. And I guess it's supposed to signify that he's back to his, innocent self when even the scar from the cross burned on his forehead heals back up and he just sort of fades away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
he's dead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or is he? I don't know.
No, he's dead. He's dead.
So he pulls Peter Vincent pulls the leg out of his chest and he's like, now he's it. He's determined.
Yeah.
He's found his inner Peter Vincent.
He's gonna Rambo up here.
Yeah, so he heads over, and by this point, we have seen that Jerry has turned Amy just before all these shenanigans start.
That was another uncomfortable scene. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he has her in this like little white dress thing with like a clasp that clasps behind the neck, and she like takes it off, unclasps it willingly, and lets him go, and then he bites her, and there's a lot of sounds.
I didn't know until now that a vampire bite was supposed to be that satisfying.
Well, it depends on who you ask, right? Like I think the interview with a vampire bites are like orgasmic. I'm pretty sure. Like I think that Louis or not Louis Lestat.
I thought it was orgasmic for the vampire. I think
it's supposed to be for both. I think that's the idea of how you like keep them in place.
Okay,
that it just like feels good. Because I feel like in the interview, the titular interview, like he says something like that it's like it feels good to be bitten.
That makes it even creepier that they bit Kirsten Dunst. That's okay. That's a whole other discussion.
Well, but in the context of that movie, they did that as like a mercy thing, right? Because she was there and her parents were dead of the plague or whatever, and they bit her as a mercy, even though it obviously wasn't a mercy.
No.
But anyway, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Lots of times vampires and underage girls seem to go together like peas and carrots. So anyway, Charlie is now, since he was knocked out, he's been taken into the room with the heavily sweating and now much longer haired Amy, who has
and she's not, even though Ed was a threat right away, Amy is not. She's in this, she's kind of twitching, like you would think she just had a really bad fever or something. She's so who knows.
We don't know the ins and outs of the Vampire Society and how it all works.
I don't really want to. That's okay.
And her hair gets long, and I'm thinking that's just supposed to be somehow related to the picture, the person who
because at one point she looks around the room and notices like 3 different paintings of someone who looks like her, and he says somebody I knew a long time ago. So who, but we don't ever get into that really. So
so anyway, he's in the room with her, and basically Jerry's like, I don't know, man, here's a steak. I'm going to go get in my coffin. Good luck.
You might want to use that on her. I don't know.
Yeah, basically saying like she's going to wake up in a few minutes and probably try to kill you. So here's this thing.
Yeah.
So basically, Jerry does the supervillain thing. He's like, all right, I'm just going to leave you here. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
It's going to be dawn soon, so I'm going to go to bed.
Here, let me tell you my plan, and now I'll go away.
Yeah, so I'm going to go away. So while Jerry's getting prepped to get into his coffin, here comes Peter Vincent with a full set of balls now, and he makes his way up and finds Charlie, and he finds him in the room, and gets him out. And of course, in the process of getting him out, Jerry and his cohort Billy find out.
Yeah,
they hear him and they head up.
And now we're in like the final
showdown,
the final battle. Yeah.
So this whole time they've kind of just been like, well, how do we deal with Billy? And Peter Vincent's like, well, I got a gun. Like he's just a dude, right? We'll just shoot him. And so they do. They shoot him right in the head, and he just stands back up.
Yeah.
And comes at him. So he's you get into all this like mythology of vampires, like what is he? Vampires have these like familiars, or they can make these ghouls or whatever. So he's clearly something else.
Something. Yeah.
Like he's not a vampire because he can walk around in the daytime, but he's something else. He's one of these servants of the vampire that has been empowered with some kind of superhuman abilities because he can get shot many, many times from the smokiest gun in the world.
Yeah, that was
after they shoot him in the head, they shoot him like 5 more times, and each time they shoot him, just more like just clouds of smoke.
So they have to wait for the smoke to clear to see that he's coming
still
back up the stairs.
He's still there, and he's coming at him, and then Billy stabs him with a stake, like I guess near the heart,
and that does it.
But he doesn't just die.
No,
he like melts into full-on Nickelodeon green slime.
Yeah.
And then
did someone say water?
Yeah. Or did someone say I don't know?
Oh, that's it. That's it.
You say water gets you water.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, and the green slime, and then dust,
like sawdust,
comes out, and then he falls down the stairs, and his bones break apart. And then its skull just slides and hits the bookshelf, and that's curtains for
henchman dead.
Yeah,
and Jerry is there, and again here we go with Peter Vincent and the cross, and Jerry. Oh, didn't I tell you? You have to believe. Mm-hmm. And then Peter Vincent, bucks up with the cross again. He believes, and there's Again, there's some scuffling, there's some struggling.
It's lots.
A giant picture window a giant stained glass window gets broken, and we slowly see the sun starting to rise in the background.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we're talking like Rose window at Notre Dame size.
Yeah,
like this
huge.
Is A, beautiful window, B, huge, and he just ropes into it.
What this window is doing in a suburban house in Idaho or whatever.
Right. Idafornia.
Yeah. It's just whatever. So clearly, an eccentric lived here before.
Yes.
So basically they're kind of like going at him, waiting for the sun to rise essentially. Mm-hmm. And they manage to stall him, and the sun rises, and he vamps up into a vampire bat kind of creature. There's a little more struggle, and then he runs away. He almost gets Peter Vincent. He bites Charlie on the arm, which I kind of thought was going to become something, but didn't.
Yeah, I thought so too. But yeah, I guess just the jugular.
Then again, I don't remember watching Fright Night 2, so maybe it does.
Oh, there was a 2. Okay, interesting. But yeah, I figured just the jugular is what turns you into a vampire. But yeah, I did notice that too.
So yeah, they fight off the weird puppet bat, which looks pretty good for the time. It's a pretty good special effect. Pretty gross, pretty grody. And he flies off downstairs.
Yeah.
And now at this point, they're like, well, we got to get him. Like, if Peter Vincent introduces the vampire trope of like, well, the only way to save Amy is to kill the vampire that made her, before dawn or whatever.
Well, they say before dawn, but it's already dawn.
Dawn is past.
But whatever.
The rules. Whatever.
Yeah.
So they head downstairs and they're looking for his coffin, and now he calls upon Amy to come and aid him, because obviously she's one of his brood now or whatever. So she follows him downstairs, and Peter Vincent's looking for the coffin, and Charlie gets jumped by Amy, and he's fighting her off. And by now, Amy has gone full vamp and just has
she has like 64 teeth.
This, crazy unhinged
it's like
jaw.
A piranha. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's kind of like one of the iconic things of this movie. I think it's to the point that I remember hearing that they did a version. They were very careful to do a version of this in the remake. What are the things that you need in a Fright Night remake? A suave vampire lead, a washed up actor, and this crazy vampire woman with 1,000 teeth and an unhinged anaconda jaw.
Yeah. And at one point she stands there, she goes, "Why don't you want me anymore?" Which is
yes. And then reveals her true self or whatever. Yeah. So they have this big showdown, and it all ends up with them realizing, we can, what has now become like a trope. I've seen it in tons of things, not just vampire movies, but anytime something is sensitive to light, we can just knock out these windows because...
Yeah, it's a basement, but there's enough windows just above that they can, and they'd been previously painted over, I think, or whatever. So, but knock them out. And then rays are eventually coming in from here and there and everywhere. And
yes, because Jerry made the ultimate mistake, which is buying a house with a basement that has windows. Yeah. Like you would think he's been around for a while. He has to have, considering all these like artifacts and stuff that he has in his house. He's been alive for hundreds of years, certainly. You would think by now he would know. It's amateur hour. You buy a house that has windows. It doesn't matter if you paint over them. If you find yourself in a showdown,
if they can break. Yeah. Well,
someone's going to break.
Think through the vampire grapevine.
Yeah. That would just be a thing like, oh, did you hear, Tom, the vampire, he got killed by a crazy teenager last week. Yeah, just knocked the windows out. Yeah, did he painted the windows? Oh, yeah, he painted over
enough.
them.
Oh,
it wasn't enough.
We're going to put it in the next edition of the manual, but just telling you now.
Send that out in the newsletter. Right? When's the next newsletter going out? Well, it's a quarterly.
Oh, so, man.
Okay, well, maybe
we have the budget for that to do like a special one?
Yeah, maybe just like a one sheet that we just mail out to all the vampires.
Maybe can we do a text blast?
A text blast?
Yeah.
What's a text? I ask you from 1985.
Sure.
But we should call all the vampires.
We have a phone tree.
Yeah, we got a phone. Yeah. Get them on the party line and let's call them all.
Use the bat signal. Yeah. Anyway, so enough sun comes in. Jerry bursts into flames.
Bursts into crazy green flames and
is done.
Burns up and he's done. And let's do the mega happy ending. All right, cool, man. Like I don't know how they explain to his mom the dead body and the broken banister in their house and the table. But
I have a feeling they just took her to the nearest bar and they were like, hot guy, go pay attention to him. And she
just exists now on a constant diet of Bloody Marys, so that she never notices that her son's friend Ed's dead body is in their foyer. So I don't know how they explain any of this. And also Peter Vincent, who was previously fired, somehow got Fright Night back. So he's back on his show Fright Night, and we're all happy. And now Amy and Charlie are going to bone.
Okay, yeah. I figured that was where that was going.
1,000%.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting for an 80s movie because there is a lot of stuff in the 80s about virgins who are about to do it. Yeah. And there was one line in there, Peter Vincent is like, something and the virgin old girl or whatever, but not a whole lot about Amy's, about their virgin status. But I figured at the end, they're making out like clearly that's what it's,
he's complaining, and this is probably a little bit of meta humor. Peter Vincent's complaining because he lost his job because no one's interested in these classic 70s and 60s and 70s vampire movies because they just want to see the slasher go to the campsite and kill all the virgins.
And then that's what he's doing at the end.
And kill the virgin girls. Yeah. And I mean, I guess you're right. He's kind of meta humor. Yeah. But so somehow Peter Vincent has his job back, and I guess he somehow has been enlightened because on his Fright Night show where he previously seemingly just showed his own movies is like, here's a sci-fi movie now because I'm cool and I show stuff that
break from vampires.
Yeah, we're going to take a break from vampires. Right, Charlie?
Yeah.
And
Wank.
And Charlie is like, haha, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and it's this again, I feel like there are some other movies we've seen where you feel like there should be a freeze frame at the end. Like,
but then as Charlie's about to do the deed, he just walks by the window and he sees like a flash of light or something. And he's like, And Amy's like, what's wrong? Did you see anything? And he's like, no. And he jumps in the bed or whatever. And then we get a shot of the window And
two red glowing eyes.
And then, as I was saying earlier, is Ed dead or not? We, for some reason, hear a line from Ed yelled over the first part of the credits or whatever as he's laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Something Brewster, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think that
I don't know. Yeah. Again, like I said, we don't know how they explained Ed's dead body to the police, I'm assuming, or anybody else, because the house next door is now back for sale. So, presumably there was something something has happened to reconcile all this stuff. But earlier you said how this seemed like it should be like, isn't that right, Charlie? And freeze frame.
Yeah.
And although we didn't get a freeze frame, we did get an ending credit song by Jay Giles Band, who are famous for the song Freeze Frame.
And was a little bit of stretch there. But.
I know. I had to come back to it.
Yeah.
There's a great 80s ending credit song. It's like, Fright Night. And there's like boom, there's like the synth bass, and then it's Jay Giles Band, so there's like a saxophone in it, and just like a dumb 80s credit song, and it's wonderful. But there you have it, Fright Night. I have shown you mine. There it is, Fright Night.
Okay, so when did you first see this?
80. This was a VHS late 80s movie, almost certainly. I was again, as the theme will be.
Yeah.
I was almost certainly too young to watch it when I watched it.
Yeah, but yes.
By quite a bit, probably.
Yes.
I wasn't huge on the slasher horror stuff in the 80s, so it was a long time before I saw like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and all that stuff. I was probably into my 20s, maybe even, but certainly teens. Well into my teens, but yeah, I was probably like 10 years old, maybe 10 years old when I saw this.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a point in the late 80s, early 90s where the guy that my mom was dating would just go to this video store. He knew this guy that owned a video store, and the guy would just be like, I don't know, get like 10 movies for $10 or something. And he would just get all these movies, and they would be there for like a week.
Yeah.
They'd be at the house for like a week. So I would just end up inevitably sort of watching most of them during the course of that time, because we lived down in this little holler, and we could get two channels. We could get ABC and NBC, and on a good day CBS, and we could get a UHF channel that was not yet a Fox affiliate.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a lot to watch or do. So if you left a stack of movies,
they were going to get
watched. And so far too early.
Sure.
But yeah, and this was, again, like I said, this locked into that triad of movies that sort of redefined what it was to what vampires could be in cinema. Like I said, along with other movies in the 80s like The Howling and Werewolf in London, who were also kind of redefining these classic tropey movie monsters from the 40s and 50s and stuff in this new way. This just sort of fits into those movies. There was just a lot of that going on in the 80s. Like, not only were they sort of the horror genre itself was getting redefined with all these slasher movies and all this different stuff, even the old standards had to kind of step up if they were also going to be
rebrand,
taken seriously. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think that I am interested now potentially to watch the remake. Of this.
Oh yeah.
So
I think, though, here's my nomination for the Jerry role.
Yeah.
Harry Styles.
Okay.
Can you not see that though? He's got, because
seems a little young.
Well, okay, give him time. So because I noticed Jerry has like, he's got very full lips, and he's not androgynous, but he's not hyper masculine, right? And Harry Styles has that a little bit.
Sure.
So that's my suggestion.
I'll allow it. I don't know who I'd put in the Peter Vincent role at this point. There's got to be somebody like, who I would put maybe not now. Maybe he, much like Styles, needs another like 5-10 years. But what the hell is his name? I had it and it just went away. Hugh Jackman.
Oh,
because he played in part of that is because he played Van Helsing in the weird
nice
action Van Helsing movie.
Yeah.
Right, Van Helsing movie. Or what's his name? Michael Sheen. What's his name?
Yeah.
I would see him. Just anybody who could pull off that sort of like theatrical, or Kenneth Branagh obviously would work.
Yeah, Michael Sheen is very good at that sort of hammy.
Yes. Yes, he can really go over the top. Like, he's had some good roles. I don't know if you've watched the new Tron that came out, but he had a great role in that. But yeah, somebody like that. David Tennant. Like, I think he's perfect for that.
Well, Michael Sheen's Tony Blair. I mean, that's super dramatic and over the top.
Oh yeah, yeah. But and I'm sure you've got any number of faceless, hot young actors who can be Charlie and Amy.
Yeah, and, that's not. Yeah, just look on the CW.
That one kid. You get that one kid. That British, I think he's a British actor. Careful.
Sorry, the cat is interfering.
He has decided that he likes the look of the mic stand. I can't remember this kid's name. He is in the Maze Runner movies. He's
yeah. I don't know his name.
Not the star. There's a kid. He plays like a character called like Newt or something.
Oh,
but he looks like the guy that plays Ed.
Is that the one who was in Love Actually?
I don't know. Cat, find something to play with and just go play with it, man. You can do it.
Okay. Anyway, well, the main Maze Runner kid is, that dark-haired white guy.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about Thomas Brody.
That's the kid from Love Actually.
Sangster? Yeah, that kid. I think that kid looks just like the actor that played Ed.
Really?
Or if he doesn't look exactly like
Ed.
him.
Okay.
He's got you could put the main guy into generic dark-haired Charlie role.
Okay, now I get
it.
But
this kid, I would put him 100% in the Ed role and just be like, because that looks like Ed to me. Like, to me.
Yeah.
I mean, not
or,
just...
Jonathan from Stranger Things.
Yes. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So how would you fantasy cast?
Yes, love it.
Even though they've already made the Fright Night remake.
I always think those things are super fun, like fantasy casting. Who do you see? Because it's really interesting to see who people choose based on, associations, or is it the physical looks, or is it the personality, whatever.
Yeah, what is it? So. They'll bring this to certain thing to the role. Like, what is it going to be that... Yeah, but of course it would be directed by Tom Holland, current Tom Holland,
right?
Just because he's got the same name.
Or maybe we could get Tom Hollander. He's a British actor.
No,
I know who he is. No. You don't, because I know anybody. Or is there a Tom Holland-est?
I don't know.
Got to find him. Anyway,
but So I mean, Fright Night. I mean, like, I think it's a fun time. I would definitely recommend it. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, this is not one of those where, some R movies, you're like, oh, bring the kids, it's fine. I would not.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of gore in it. There's some boobies. There's some inappropriate, some very dirty dancing.
And I don't want to have to explain, why is she making that noise? No.
Right.
No.
Does it feel good when you get bit by a vampire?
Yeah. No. Don't. No. Don't.
If it feels good in the neck and other places.
Ew. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a prude. I'm married and I have a kid, and no.
Well, we've been at this for quite a while. Is there anything else to say about Fright Night?
I don't think so.
So I guess that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah. So, but listen, folks, if you would like to let us know what you think of Fright Night, we would love to hear from you. So you can drop us a line. We're on both Twitter and Gmail. Either one, it's YSMY podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. Mm-hmm. For example, what's your fantasy casting?
Yes.
Would you show this to your under 18-year-old?
Would you allow your probably 10-year-old kid? I was probably 9 or 10. Yeah. Would you allow your 9-year-old to watch this movie?
Yeah. We didn't let our 10-year-old watch it. Would you let your 30-year-old watch it? I feel like this needs a higher age rating. But anyway, so let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, if you would like to hear more of our episodes, you can subscribe to our podcast. We are on pretty much most podcast providers, I believe, including, I just learned, Spotify.
Yes. We should be everything. Apple, Google Pod, then this and that, tune in with Alexa, and
the Pod Tune,
Stitcher, and we may not be on Pandora. Hey, if you're hearing this, go and check and see if we're on Pandora.
I think we are. I think we saw it, but I know Spotify because we just found it. So anyway, subscribe, and you'll get our goodness in your feed every 2 weeks. So speaking of 2 weeks, our next episode, we come out every other Wednesday, by the way. Next one, I'm going to show Dave my Big Fat Greek Wedding, which I'm excited about.
Yeah,
That's very sweet.
Most of the movies you're going to show me over the course of this that are, made in the 2000-ish era, they're going to be movies that I felt like I dodged them. Like, this movie, when this movie was popular and everybody was talking about it, I didn't watch it, and now I never have to worry about it again, and now you are making me watch it.
Yep. Pretty much.
I guess I'll find out what all the fuss was about.
Yep. Opa, everybody. Yeah. So we'll see you next time on You Show Me Yours. That's it. See you, everybody. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.
Until then, have a good time. I don't know what I'm saying.
Have a safe time on the trip out there to just say bye.
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 Okay, can we do that again? I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, sure. All right.